Hey Orangetheory family, and welcome to day 15 of our home workouts. We know you've been missing the rower, so here's that endurance upper body workout that you've been looking forward to. Grab a couple of weights, 10 to 15 pounds, try and be as creative as you can. Remember, any selfies or videos that you take, share them on Instagram or on our social media. I can, I will, and also Orangetheory home workouts. Team, let's remember, quality over quantity on those reps. Go nice and slow and feel every single muscle working. Team, enjoy today's workout and we'll see you on the other side. Stay strong.
Let's get started with a dynamic warm-up. We're gonna go through 5 exercises. We'll demonstrate those for you, and then you can work through your 2 rounds. We're gonna start down on the ground, maybe lay out a towel or a blanket like we have here for a little bit of extra padding underneath your hands and knees. Shoulders are gonna stack directly over top of your wrists, hips are stacked directly over your knees, and go ahead and relax your feet so the tops of your shoes are facing towards the ground. From here, we're gonna start with a T-spine rotation. So keeping one hand planted firmly, core engaged just slightly, we're gonna bring fingertips to the ear, and then raise your elbow towards the ceiling, rotating through that thoracic spine, and then reaching that elbow back towards the floor. Go through this motion 5 times, again, focusing on rotating just through that upper half of your torso rather than rotating all the way through those hips. 10 total, 5 on each side. Staying in that same position, we're gonna go right into what's called a cat camel. So you are mimicking what those animals, I guess, look like, right? So we'll go ahead and start by arching through that back, making that hump by tucking your chin and then tucking those hips underneath. And then let's go back the opposite direction, crown of your head and tailbone to the ceiling, really mobilizing that spine, really warming up that torso for some of the work that we're gonna be doing later. 5 total here. And then we're gonna again stay in the same position, moving right into what we call the fire hydrant. This is really to help open up those hips. So we are going to draw a circle with our knee. External rotation would be to lift the knee to the outside first and then shoot that leg out behind you, then bringing your knee back underneath your hips. 5 that direction, and then you do wanna make it an internal rotation as well, just simply moving the opposite direction. 10 on one side, 10 on the other side. Now our next one is gonna be a dynamic runner's lunge. So we are gonna add an overhead side reach. In order to help with posture, maybe grab something that you have at home. We happen to have a ginormous spoon. So we're gonna have John hold that over top of his head. That way his shoulders are gonna stay in the right position, ears stacked over that shoulder, over that hip, and then his front foot is gonna come a little bit further than that 90-degree angle that you're used to seeing. This way he'll be able to make it dynamic by shifting forward, opening up through that hip flexor while he's leaning over to the side. And again, by holding on to whatever object it is, maybe it's a towel for you, you'll be able to make sure that you stay in alignment. 5 one direction and then 5 on the opposite side. One more exercise, we're calling this the plank to an alternating ankle reach. Get into your high plank position. Again, shoulders stacked directly over wrists, feet are shoulder width apart, tuck that core or those hips under to engage that core, and then lift through your hips, reaching your opposite hand towards that opposite ankle. You're simply gonna go as far as you can for your range of motion, moving back and forth for 10 total, 5 on each side. 2 full rounds, 5 exercises. Let's get that body primed for the work that you're about to do.
If I had my time again, I'd do something about it. But it's too late, baby, and you're running on out the door. I never knew it'd come to this, never thought we clouded. But can you hold on, baby, just a little bit more? As I
Our next block is going to work upper body. More specifically, muscles that are going to translate to everyday life, such as when you bend over to pick up your kids. So this block is going to be endurance. It's going to be set up a little bit differently. You have 3 exercises, 15 reps of each, and you're going to go through 3 rounds in a row of the same 3 movements before resting for 1 minute. When you're done with that, you'll move to the second set of exercises, 15 reps each, 3 rounds, and let's get started. All right. So first movement, you have a hip hinge, single arm, low row. So hip hinge position, neutral spine, feet hip width apart. You're going to bring the weight toward your hip, keeping tension in the opposite side. That's where you want it. That's where you're going to feel it in your core. Slowly lower the weight back to the starting position. The option on this movement, limit your range of motion. Second exercise, bicep curl, 15 reps. Elbows start at your ribs. You're going to bring the weights up toward your shoulder. Pause at the top. Slowly lower the weights back down to the starting position. Option, limit the range of motion again. Third exercise, you're going to move onto the floor. It's going to be an iso hip bridge to a pullover. So you're going to have 1 dumbbell or any household object. Keep the weight in the heels. Try not to lift your hips too high to arch your back. That's your starting position. You'll bring the weight back as far as you can without that arch increasing, and then bring it back over to the chest in the center. You inhale as the weight goes back, exhale as the weight comes forward. The option is to do that movement with the hips on the floor. So you'll do 3 rounds of those 3 exercises at 15 reps each before resting for 1 minute. You'll then move to the next 3 exercises, which is going to work the core. The first one is going to be a power sit-up. So you start in your starting position, arms extended behind your head, legs straight out. You'll slowly sit up and drive the knees toward your chest, pause, and then lower back down slowly. You want to think of the power when you sit up, and then pause, and then slowly lower back down. The option, don't come all the way up on that sit-up. Just bring the knees in, and then slowly lower back. Second movement is going to be a toe reach. So you'll start with the legs fully extended, grabbing your weight. You want to flex your feet at the top. Make sure your lower back is pressed into the floor. Arms are fully extended as you crunch up and reach that weight toward your toes. Your eyes are looking at your knees throughout this movement. Try to make sure as you come up, you keep contact with your lower back into the floor. Option, you can bend your knees to shorten the lever. And the last exercise is going to be a straight leg hip raise. So you'll start in the same position you were just in, your back's pressed into the floor. You want to keep your hands down as you lift your hips up as high as possible. Think of trying to touch your toes to the ceiling. The option on this one, you can bend your knees again to shorten the lever. So you're going to have 3 rounds, 15 reps each of all 3 of those exercises, and that's the workout. Let's get to work.
undercover, the sooner you discover it's true. For sure there will be stormy weather, but the weather will pass. Can't you just see how far away that we are from each other? Without flow there'll never ever be something that you could really treasure, and treasure it could. I hope you will. Across that island goes what you wait for, 'cause I wanna be the lady. Unlock that heart of yours, you don't have to be alone. Run away from yet another, before you get the chance to see what we could really do for each other, and we really could do something good. Across that island goes what you wait for, 'cause I wanna be the lady. Unlock that heart of yours, you don't have to be alone. Don't have to stand out on your own. You don't have to be alone. Don't have to stand out on your own. You don't have to be alone. You hide away your heart undercover. The sooner you discover it's true. For sure there will be stormy weather, but the weather will pass. Can't you just see how far away that we are from each other? Without flow there'll never ever be something that you could really treasure, and treasure it could. I hope you will. Across that island goes what you wait for, 'cause I wanna be the lady. Unlock that heart of yours, you don't have to be alone.
caught up in a sense of wonder. A tide pulls from within her, it pulls you in. Night moves in and you're both under so close you breathe her in. A whisper, no space between. Open your eyes, see that
you got now. Never rested, not to mention, cause you know that. But each minute feels different, no take back. Everyone's got a little bit of magic. Everyone's got a little trick up their sleeve. Everyone's got some kind of abracadabra. So cast your spell and make them believe. You got some kind of magic. Baby, you know you got some kind of magic. You got some kind of magic. You got it, you got it. You got some kind of magic. You got it, you got it. You got some kind of magic. Make up your mind what you're searching for. Sticky claim, is it vain? Do you see your name in lights? Make up your mind what you're searching for. You got some kind of magic.
We worked our sympathetic nervous system throughout the workout as we elevated our heart rate. Now it's time to upregulate our parasympathetic nervous system to bring our heart rate back down and to cool off our bodies. We have 4 stretches coming at you, 20 seconds on each side. Ready, Ange?
Ready.
All right, our first stretch is going to be Cobra. We're gonna lie face down on our comfy mat or towel, bringing our hands directly at the sides of our chest as we lift our chest up off the ground till our range of motion allows, really stretching out that core. 20 seconds holding here. From there, we're gonna go into child's pose, where we're gonna bring our big toes together, pull our knees out a little bit wider than hip width apart, let our torso sink between the knees as we extend our arms, relaxing our head. Holding this for 20 seconds, our third stretch is going to be an angled child's pose, where we shift our hands a little bit to the right, feeling that nice deep pull and stretch along our side, and then switching it to the other side for 20 seconds. Our fourth stretch is going to be our seated toe reach, sitting up nice and tall on our sit bones as our legs are extended, feet are flexed, and just keeping her back nice and flat as she extends her arms straight out in front of her, hinging at her hips until her range of motion allows, slowly lowering her hands down once she feels that stretch in her hamstrings and her calves. Let's start getting that body cooled down.